In this video, we're going to look at how we can secure our local environment by running our application not over HTTP but over HTTPS. Now, while we could easily create a self-signed certificate in IIS, I'm going to show you a different way where we create a development root certificate in our trusted authorities folder, and then we use that certificate to then sign and create an SSL certificate which we can bind to our site in IIS. Alright, let's take a look. Now, before we get started, I want to introduce you to two tools that you may already know or may not. The first one is called Make Cert. It says here that it's deprecated, but this is what we'll be using to create our X509 certificate. This will be used to generate our certificates. There are numerous options which I will get to later. The second one is PVK to PFX, and this is a simple tool which copies public key and private key information from or which are contained in the certificates and private files to a new format called the Personal Information Exchange. So I'll just show you what I already have set up in IIS. I have a simple website which is bound to a project stored here. Over here are my bindings. The host name I have given to it is dev.local. If you would like to follow the same kind of pattern, in order to move away from the default local host, what you will need to do is to go into your host file, and I'll show you what I have here in my host file. So all you need to do is go to your host file found in C, Windows, System32, drivers, etc., and just add this line of code. This basically tells your IIS server that it's basically just adding a DNS entry in that when it attempts to navigate to dev.local, it'll redirect to the default 127.0.1, and that will bring us back to this website, and that's what I have over here. Okay, so this is the development root certificate creator. I've laid out the file like this so that it's more readable for you. This is the batch file. It's the same content, it's just more condensed for the command line. So the Make Cert tool is what we will initially run to create our development root certificate. We specify the name, we specify that it's exportable, we're doing a self-signed authority. The certificate type is also assigned to the authority. We are creating, it's valid from this date to this date by using these parameters. The key length is 2048, and we're using the hashing algorithm. Now, right after we create these two certificates, that's the private key and then the actual certificate file, we're going to copy the contents of the private and certificate file into a new file called the PFX file, which basically stands for Personal Information Exchange. Okay, so I'm going to switch to my command prompt now. I'm going to run the command ls, and over here I have my two batch files, which are this dev root certificate creator and SSL certificate creator. So we're going to run those two, and firstly let's run the dev root certificate batch file. Now what this will do, it will ask me if I want to create a private key password. This adds an extra layer of security, which I don't necessarily need for my local environment, so I'm just going to click OK. It'll ask me to confirm if I really want to create this without a password. Now I'm going to say yes. So as you can see, a number of certificates were created. First of all, this is the private key, so we have development root.pvk. Then we have the actual certificate, development root.cer, and then we have the Personal Information Exchange file, which is created or generated by the PVK to PFX tool. The next thing we're going to do is that we're going to now generate the certificate for our IIS server, which we will actually use. So let's go ahead and type in SSL Certificate Creator. It's going to do the same thing, ask me for a password. I'm going to humbly decline, and as you can see, I have my SSL certificate, or the certificate, which is basically going to be used for my dev.local application. Okay, so we have our certificates generated for us by using the make cert and the PVK to PFX tool. We have our dev.local certificate, which we will be installing in IIS, and we have our development root certificate, which we need to place inside of the trusted certificates folder. We're going to run the management console application in order to do this. Alright, so if you hit the Windows and R key, you're going to get this little dialog box. Now inside you can type MMC, and this will open up the Microsoft management console for you. Pull that over here. Alright, so inside of this management console, we want to add a snap-in so that we will be able to manage our certificates. We're going to choose the computer option, computer account, and we'll just click finish and OK. So what you'll see is a number of folders. The first two are the ones we want to focus on. So we're going to install the development root certificate we created inside of the trusted root certification authorities. By installing it here, as you can see, there are a number of certificates already installed. These are the authorities which are trusted by your computer and the browser, so that you don't get any certificate errors in the browser when you go to a website. So we're going to right click on all tasks, import, and it will open up a import wizard, certificate import wizard. We'll click next. Let's navigate to the location of our certificates. I have it in my dev folder over here, SRC. So notice that it gives you a number of options in terms of the types of certificates. In this case, we want the .cer file, so we will double click this and click next. And this will just tell us what basically it's doing, that it's placing it in the trusted root certification authorities. We'll click next and finish. So that's done. Now the next thing we want to do is go to the personal folder, and this is where we're going to install the actual dev.local certificate we created, which we'll be using in IIS. So we'll do the same thing. We'll browse and navigate to the folder. In this case, however, we will change the type from X509 certificate to the PFX, so personal information exchange file. We'll double click on that and we'll open. Now remember, the PFX file contains the private key and the actual certificate combined. So it is associated with the development root certificate, which was used to create it. And this is basically the glue that binds the two together, which will enable our browser to accept it as being a trusted certificate. Now we did not set a password, so we can move on and just click next until we get to the final phase. The import is successful. Alright, so the final step in all of this is basically to go now to our bindings. We are going to add another scheme, which will be HTTPS. We will check this button, which is basically allowing us to add multiple SSL certificates. That's the required server name indication. I'm going to put dev.local in here, and I'm going to click OK. Alright, so now alright, so there you can see that our site now is running under HTTPS. the browser colorfully tells us that we have a secure site. Let's take a look at the certificate here, just to see what's going on underneath the cover. So as I view my certificate, so let's take a quick look. So the certificate was issued to dev.local, which is the SSL certificate we created, and it was issued by our Certificate Authority, in this case, which is the development route, and it's valid from the 21st of January 2016 to 2030. Some other details can be found here, and these essentially map to what the code or the script that we wrote in there. So that's pretty much it. And this is how you can run your local applications in a secure environment. Hope you enjoyed the video, and check out more of my videos later. For those of you interested in the code, if you go to developer/Certificate Creator on GitHub, you can find all the code, including the scripts which we walked through over here. Everything's over here, so it's freely available for anyone to tweak and to simulate on their local machines. All right.